KSI was just a regular guy who started uploading videos of himself sitting on his sofa at home playing FIFA, which is a football game, with a friend of his. And gradually over time, he gained a lot of subscribers because people found him entertaining and whatnot, the way he would rage about playing FIFA. And it turned into a very successful YouTube channel with millions of subscribers. Logan Paul, to my knowledge, again, just a regular guy who started out doing, I guess, prank videos and stuff like that and dare videos, and similar situation. Over the course of time, he amassed a following of millions of subscribers. Now, the pair of them who are not boxers, they don't have any amateur backgrounds, they've only had one fight between them, which I guess was, what would you call it? An exhibition, an amateur bout. Now they're having their rematch, and it's going to be on pay-per-view in the UK, Sky Sports box office, DAZN in the United States, and of course their first bout was also pay-per-view. I think that was a YouTube pay-per-view, correct me if I'm wrong. So, given the fact that these guys are not even professional boxers, it's quite incredible the numbers that they can draw, the number of pay-per-views they sold for the first bout. Now, the fight is not happening until November 9th, but they've already sold 5,000 tickets, which is more tickets than Tyson Fury sold for his last fight. Okay? Incredible that a pair of guys who are not boxers can do these kind of numbers. Now, why is this significant, and where am I going with this? Well, I'm not going to say that anybody can become a YouTube star, but there are going to be boxers who are interesting enough or appeal to a certain demographic strongly enough to amass maybe not millions of subscribers, but certainly thousands or tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of subscribers. There are boxers who will be able to do that. And I'm talking about amateur boxers. I'm talking about maybe some top amateurs who are looking to turn pro in the near future. Some of them will be interested enough people to be able to get a big following on YouTube and social media if they decide to go down that route. And therefore, there's the potential for those guys, fighters in those situations, to be able to go the independent route, or certainly to be able to be in a position of power whereby they don't have to sign long-term deals with promoters early on in their professional careers, where they could do it on a fight-by-fight basis. It's kind of like the record industry. You've got certain artists who made it big on YouTube long before they ever signed a record deal. And so when it got to the point that record labels wanted to sign them, they were in a position of power. If you're just a regular artist and you don't have a big following and you go to a record label and they like your music, well, they're not going to give you a good deal. They're going to try and sign you to a 360 deal where they keep all the rights. Yeah. Whereas if you've got a following of 10 million on YouTube or whatever, and your videos are getting millions of views, the record labels are going to come to you and you're going to tell them what's going to go in the contract, not the other way around. So there's an opportunity here with social media, with YouTube. I mean, even the ability to set up your own website and do your own pay-per-views via your own website. There's an opportunity here for some boxers. I'm not saying it's going to be the right thing for all boxers, but there's an opportunity here for some boxers to actually go this route. Because if these guys can do it, there must be some boxers out there, young fighters, yeah, good amateurs, who will be able to do something similar to this. Go independent. And I'll give you an example. Carl Froch recently came out in a podcast and said that he believes the earth is flat. Now, I don't know whether he was trolling or whether he was serious, but let's just, for an example, say that you had a young fighter who came out, maybe when he was still an amateur, a top level amateur, and said that he believed the earth was flat. Now, there is a massive flat earth community on YouTube. And for the record, I am not a flat earther, okay? Before anybody starts. Nothing against people who are, but I'm definitely not a flat earther. But there's a massive flat earth community. So if a fighter came out as a flat earther when he's an amateur, he would instantly have all these people, the more things he starts winning as an amateur and the more vocal he is on social media about his flat earth business, the more of a following he would get. And so a lot of the flat earthers would just start following this boxer because they think he represents them. And there are many other communities on the internet, similar thing. They might not necessarily be boxing fans, but they'll follow you by virtue of the fact that they think you represent them. And so that flat earther, okay, let's say he wins an ABA title, wins world championships, medals at the Olympics. He's about to turn pro. He's this flat earth guy. Or he might get ridiculed by the mainstream press and whatnot, but he's got these tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of flat earthers who support this guy. All of a sudden, he can put on his own shows. All of a sudden, he can start calling people out, calling rivals out. And rivals are looking at him like, okay, I'm actually going to fight this guy because he can pay money. Look at all the fans he's bringing to his fights. And again, you don't have to necessarily be a flat earther. I was just using that as an example. You might be somebody who comments on, geopolitics. You might be somebody who is just some kind of funny internet personality on Twitter or whatever. Now, some people are going to say it takes too much time. It would take too much time to be an internet personality, to build up a big following aside from your boxing. But not necessarily. It depends on what you're talking about. Depends on how witty you are, depends on how clever you are, depends on what kind of content you make. There are some people who have become millionaires from things like YouTube, and they don't really put that much effort into what they do. There isn't really hours and hours every week thinking up content. No, they just do minimal stuff, go on camera for a few minutes, and for whatever reason, people like them. I mean, there are people on YouTube with millions of subscribers who just sit down and eat food in front of camera, and they get millions of people watching. And I'm not knocking them, If people want to watch that, I mean, I don't want to watch it, but if other people want to watch it, that's cool, So there's an opportunity there for smart young fighters to take advantage of these platforms, social media and stuff like that. You don't have to go the traditional route. The traditional route might be the right way to go still for a lot of fighters, but for certain other fighters, there's an opportunity for them to go a solo route and become far more successful solo than going the traditional route, signing with a promoter, letting them take care of everything. And again, KSI and Logan Paul have showed you that you can do things independently. And these guys are not even proper boxers. Not every boxer, and it's only going to be a minority of boxers, are going to be able to amass a big social media following. It doesn't need to be millions. It could just be, the size of my channel. I've got 60,000 subscribers. Imagine if a young amateur boxer who's just about to turn pro has got 60,000 subscribers who regularly tune in to watch him on YouTube. Imagine if he had that. Imagine how many tickets he'd be able to sell with that kind of audience already from day dot. Do you understand what I'm saying? But very few fighters have got any subscribers when they turn pro. On their YouTube channels. Many of them don't even have YouTube channels at all. Or any kind of significant social media presence. I say YouTube specifically because you can monetize YouTube. And that's where, and you can also do pay-per-views and stuff like that. So that's where a lot of fighters should be concentrating on. And one of the most difficult things for young fighters is trying to sell tickets. I mean, some of you might not be aware that a lot of young fighters actually have to pay promoters to be on their shows. Oh yeah, this goes on. On the small hall circuit in the UK, a lot of fighters are actually paying the promoter to be on the show. Not even getting paid, but actually paying the promoter for the opportunity to be on the show. Now, if you're somebody with a, sizable social media following, again, you're going to be able to sell tickets a lot more easily. I mean, look at me. I'm a middle-aged man. I haven't boxed for God knows how many years. If I did a face reveal tomorrow and challenged another YouTuber to a, celebrity boxing match, I mean, let me not call myself a celebrity, but, British YouTube boxing community celebrity boxing match, whatever you want to call it, white collar fight, let's call it that. If I did that, I'm sure I could sell out the Your Call easily. And if it was somebody more well known than me, like Coogan, I mean, you never know, we might be able to sell out the Copper Box or something. Do you understand? So if clapped out middle-aged men are able to do that off the basis of the, YouTube following, imagine what young guys who, they're in the in generation, they're not old, clapped out old codgers like me, but that they're people who are still relevant in today's society, all right, among the youth generation. If they had a sizable social media following, just imagine what they could do from day dot. Could dictate to promoters and say, okay, I want you to put my fight on. I'm going to fight this person. That might be the future of boxing, or it certainly could be the future for certain fighters who are internet savvy enough, social media savvy enough to be able to, be independent from the beginning. Because there's always been fighters who have been independent. Well, not always, but many times in history there have been independent fighters like Floyd Mayweather and, various others. Roy Jones Jr. was independent for a lot of his career. But in the social media age, it's never been as viable to be independent as it is right now. It's never been as viable. Right now is the best opportunity for fighters to be independent because of social media and the ability to market yourself independently. As I say, like with music, there's never been a time when it's easier for music artists to get a big following without a record label. It's the same for boxing. It's just that boxers are too, hardwired into going the traditional route. They haven't opened their mind up and expanded their mind to the possibilities out there. Many of them are being guided by older people who are short-sighted and don't really understand social media that well. But as I say, you look at the music industry, there are so many artists now who become extremely successful without ever signing a record contract. That never used to be the case. If you wanted to be successful in the 90s and the 80s and prior to that, you had to sign a record contract. You couldn't do it by yourself for the most part, but today you can. And I'm telling you now, there's an opportunity for boxers to do it as well, to do something similar. Not all boxers, but some will be able to do this if they actually try to do it. So anyway, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. KSI and Logan Paul are actually trailblazers. They're showing the way. They're shining a light on what can actually be done. If you decide to go that route, let me know how you feel, people. It's time I'm out.
Join me on Patreon. I upload a minimum of 2 podcasts every single week, covering a wide variety of controversial topics, as well as live stream Q&A sessions. Take a look on screen right now at some of the podcasts I've produced so far. For just $3 a month, the equivalent of about £2 a month, you get access to all my new podcasts and my entire back catalogue of past podcasts, including my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. You can listen on your computer or on your smartphone or tablet by downloading the Patreon app from the Google Play Store or the App Store for free. The Patreon app also allows you to download each podcast in MP3. For less than the price of a cup of coffee, you get access to dozens of hours of exclusive content. It's easy to sign up, there's no contract, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.